What's up, guys? So I'm going to be showing you the whole script writing process. I'm going to be speed running it from steps A to Z, just showing you how we do the scripting, the titles, the thumbnails, how we just kind of think about the overall psychology of a YouTube video. And we're going to be demonstrating this for one of my clients who is within the Airbnb niche. So I'm going to walk through the whole process of understanding the avatar and creating a video for that specific person, because our goal is to find viral formats within YouTube that are ultimately going to perform for our client. So let's go through a list of videos and see what's going to work well for this niche. Another good place that I like to look at outside of my app, like the app that I have custom built works really well, but sometimes going into the YouTube algorithm and seeing what pops up within your browse feature is probably one of the best places to look for good formats. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of scroll down and see what's going to work well. And then if you can't find anything, just refresh. I think one good niche that I should look at for Airbnb is I want to look at the YouTube niche and see what they have, because the YouTube niche actually correlates really well with Airbnb because the demographic is very similar. You'll have a lot of millennials watching these YouTube growth videos because they want to start some sort of business through YouTube as like a side income. So let's just go into all niches, YouTube growth and marketing. And let's just find a video that could work through this. Earlier, I did see a topic that I was thinking about using. This one's actually not bad. Let's take a look at this one.
If I lost my channel with 700,000 subscribers, every video is completely gone and I had to start over, this is exactly what I would do. And I'm not just saying this, I've actually started a couple new channels in the past year. This is exactly what I did do, what I would do. And it's not theoretical, it is actually proven to work. To start off with, I would not pick a niche, or I would pick a niche. All right, there's generally two ways you can go with this. With the experience that I have now, I would pick a very targeted niche like I did with this channel where I strictly review saunas and cold plunges, pretty much nothing else. This channel with 20 videos has made over $40,000. I've touched on that before. That one's very targeted. But actually, if I was trying to build a more personal brand over again, and I didn't know exactly
Checking to see if these views are actually real. So what the vidIQ app does really well is you can see the progression of this guy's views. You can also see like which thumbnails he's tested. So you can see that these are 2 tested thumbnails. But just kind of gauging off of this line, I can tell that this guy has not bought his viewers. Believe it or not, a lot of YouTubers actually do that, but he has not done that. And then I also check to see if he has any people that have, I'm just trying to see if there's any bots, long story short. But it looks like these are all real comments, all real views, which means that this format could be a good potential format. So let's just see if I started YouTube in 2026. Just find like a similar format if I started. So what I'll do next is if I like a title thumbnail idea, what I'll do is I'll test it within the YouTube search and see what other niches have done this. Because if I see that there's a ton of niches out there that are applying this strategy and they're actually getting good outlier scores, then it's a format that I'll definitely consider. The whole goal with every video that you analyze is to disqualify it. Your goal is to disqualify because you don't want to, especially for your clients, release a video that's not going to perform. Sometimes you do have to release videos that are not going to perform from, like, let's say a sales perspective. But in this situation, we're trying to get more viewers. We're trying to get more attention for my client's channel for his Airbnb niche. And I'm trying to go for a higher velocity of views. So let's just take a look at this keyword. So the way that I type it in is if I started in 2026. So right away, as you can tell, Mark Tilbury 3 days ago, he's a big YouTuber, has posted a similar format. So already right off the bat, someone's already doing this recently. If I started 2026 with $0, here's my exact plan. You can tell that that's a high outlier score, 13x. Sometimes the outlier scores aren't extremely accurate, but it gives you a general idea. 6 days ago, if I started this one 7 months ago, this is another one that I want to check out. I do like this thumbnail as well. Ignore the shorts. We don't need to look at the shorts. That's the video we just watched. I do like this thumbnail as well. If I started YouTube from scratch in 2026, I'd do this. I actually do like this one. So what I'll do is I'll copy it. And unfortunately, YouTube is a game of stealing sometimes, but you're going to be at a severe disadvantage if you don't steal ideas. However, what you don't steal is the ideas yourself. So with my clients, I don't steal, other people's ideas. I get their own information and then package it into their own YouTube video. So, yeah, let's take a look at this video here.
When I first started making videos on YouTube, I made every mistake possible. I was posting random videos, I was constantly changing topics, and I thought that buying more expensive gear would magically make my videos succeed, but all of that was incorrect. But now after making over 100 videos for Think Media, if I had to start over from zero, I would do these 7 things completely differently. Now the first thing I would do is very simple. I would just make and post my very first video. I wouldn't overthink it. I wouldn't plan it out for 6 months and strategize all the different things. I would start messy, I would just hit record, and then I'd hit upload. We work with so many creators who spend weeks or months watching videos and researching the best gear and just waiting for everything.
So with this video, you're going to notice a very specific structure. He keeps it very simple with just showing tips. So he has tip number 1, tip number 2, tip number 3, even though for some reason the way that he positions it is more so in a step format. But I do like the way that he's structured. It's very simple. And usually the best scripts that usually win on YouTube are the ones that are the most simple to watch, because you don't want to overcomplicate it. Because if you overcomplicate it, it's only going to make it more difficult for the viewer to watch. For a lot of business channels, your goal is to provide the most efficient information, and there's not really a storyline format like you would within, like, let's say, an entertainment video. So this video, I actually do really like the format of it. I would actually, steal the hook, just like the structure of it, because the way that I think he says the hook is something that I would replicate myself. So what I'll usually do with the videos is I'll go in, copy it. I'll go into 4K video downloader, which is a tool that I use for downloading videos. And then I'm just going to simply install the MP3, which is an audio file, and download it. And what I'll do is I'll just put this through Fireflies and take transcript of it, because with the transcript, I'm able to put this through Claude and have Claude analyze it. And within Claude, I actually have everything set up in a way where everything is just optimized for my client and for YouTube. And the way that I optimize it for my client is I have all the sales calls, I have avatar demographics, like just overall explaining what the avatar looks like. I have a style guide that just basically explains like how I write my scripts, because I usually tend to do it in a very organized and simple format. And yeah, but I'll show you that all those steps in a bit. So let's just go into this folder and let's go into Fireflies. Go to upload video. If I started YouTube. Let's have the transcript process. Oops, let me do that. It shouldn't take too long. Okay, it's finished. Now let's go in, download this as a docs file. Okay, so this is where a lot of the magic comes in. And before we do all that, I actually want to take the thumbnail designs that I have. So let's just go into Google Drive. Okay, so the way I'm going to structure it is hook / intro. Then I'm going to put in thumbnails. And it's really important that you have the title and the thumbnail already in mind. Preferably just having the title. You can decide what the thumbnail is a little bit later, but I already have an idea of what it is. But ideally, in a perfect scenario, you do both first. So what I'll do is I'm essentially going to steal this idea. Because that's what works best on YouTube, and that's what's going to get the most performance. So if I started YouTube from scratch in 2026, I do this. Simply for Airbnb, it will be if I started Airbnb from scratch in 2026, I do this. Very simple. And let's put it into the document as an idea. And then once I do that, I'm just going to double check to see if there's anyone within the Airbnb niche that has done this title format, because we want to make sure that no one's really doing this. So let's just make this Airbnb from scratch. All right, so let's just take a look at if there's anyone doing similar. If I wanted to make 100K with Airbnb in 2026, I do this. So this is actually kind of a similar format. The only difference is if I start at Airbnb from scratch. So it's like kind of different. I don't like the fact that there's two ladies here, because it's going to confuse the audience. One person's going to be talking, the other one is going to be talking. Granted, that might be a stylistic thing that they're doing, but we can definitely take advantage of how they're doing things. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of note this to myself as a potential competitor. Let me just write down. So I'll just do a competition. Telegram. Now, okay, so how I'd start an Airbnb business in 2026 if I could start over. That's actually a very similar format, but the only issue with this guy that we can take advantage of is that he posted 11 months ago. Now, obviously, it's almost a full year since he's done this video. We could take advantage of that and make a better video. So without even watching the video, and eventually I will, I'm going to share this for myself. That way I can just kind of note it down. I was actually going to put this here. If I started Airbnb hosting in 2026 tomorrow, I do this. I don't like this format. This guy totally ruined the title by putting it tomorrow after losing $4,000. Okay, why would I care if you lost $4,000? This one could work, but the only problem is it only got 4,000 views. Yeah, so there's not really that much competition in this niche, so I would definitely take advantage of it. Yeah. Cool. And then I want to take a look at this video real quick and see what he's doing exactly that makes him unique in the market.
If I had to start an Airbnb business from scratch in 2025, I'll make my first $10,000 a month in 60 days instead of the 6 months that it actually took me. I'm Jordan. I started my short-term rental business at 20 years old, and today I manage over 30 properties, generating $50,000 plus in profit every month, which is impressive, but not as impressive as the 70 students I've helped make over $10,000 a month with Airbnb arbitrage in the last 6 months. In this video, I'm gonna do something different from every single Airbnb video you've ever watched. I'm gonna give you the exact process, everything A to Z, for free. And by the very end, you'll be more than capable of starting your own Airbnb business. So you probably clicked on this video wondering what exactly is Airbnb arbitrage and how does it work? Let me break it down. Airbnb arbitrage is rental arbitrage for short-term rentals. Basically, you rent a property on a standard long-term lease, you furnish it professionally, and then list it on Airbnb and other short-term rental platforms with the landlord or agent's permission. And here's how the money works. You pay the landlord their monthly rent.
Okay. So, not a bad intro overall. I think you probably could have gotten into it a little bit faster. Showing the students was good because it shows proof. I'm not the biggest fan of like some of the animations that he's doing. And overall, I think he just could have went faster into the overall meat of the video. So he does more so of a step-by-step format. So let's just take a look at it.
In the last 6 months. In this video, I'm gonna do something different from every
step 1, step 2, step 3. Okay, so he just does steps. Okay. So what I'll do here is, yeah, so this works. We'll go for this format. And just to kind of give you guys a little bit more clarification on one more thing that I think I forgot to mention. The reason why I ended up going initially into the YouTube niche is because I'm trying to look for niches that are adjacent to Airbnb. So when you think about Airbnb, what do you usually think of when it comes to the customer avatar? When I think of Airbnb, I think of people that, you know, work a corporate job that are trying to start some sort of side income that is ultimately going to get them to a position where they can replace their 9-to-5 job or have more money coming in. So when I think of Airbnb, an adjacent niche would be real estate, or it could be mobile homes or vending machines, storage facilities. Another one could be retirement niche, LinkedIn growth, YouTube growth. The reason why LinkedIn growth, YouTube growth work is because you'll have an older demographic of millennials that are 30 years old and plus that want to have a job but also want to start a side income business. And they see, like, let's say YouTube as a potential good option because they know that AdSense can convert, over 5K a month, 10K a month for them, or just through the YouTube channel, they can make side income through some of the courses or a group that they start. So that's why I ended up choosing YouTube, is because the demographic fits the Airbnb niche. So I'll just put down title. If I started from scratch, I'd do this. Okay, now thumbnails, what I'll do is I'll just use this. Just go into... Okay. These are just references for me, so that way we can, once we get to the designing process, we have these thumbnails in mind. And let's just kind of go over also while we're here some potential formats for titles on these thumbnails. So for my client, it's going to be 150K per month, and then arrow. This one will work. I think we can use change your life. Change your life. What's this one? And then this could be Airbnb logo. Just start. Okay, I like that. Okay. Now we're gonna kind of just create a rough draft of it. So I'll just do step one. Let's do step three. Okay. Now let's just open up our project, and I'm gonna explain to you like how my project is set up. That way you guys have it, have an idea as like how a properly set up Claude looks like. Okay, so just to kind of show you how my Claude is structured, there's a lot of files in this. What I have is all of Aurelio's YouTube videos when I started. So when his YouTube channel started, he had a bunch of testimonial videos. He had some breakdown videos as to like how he started his Airbnb business. So I just compiled it into Google Drive, and I basically took a whole document, and within the document, I put in different tabs, and there was like maybe 15 videos. So I just collected that information, and then Airbnb arbitrage done for you research. So this is just a document that someone on his team gave over to me that gave an idea as to like what the avatar looks like. So I just put that into the Claude memory base. Closing calls. So these are just calls from Aurelio, my client, that just has all of his calls listed. I think there's about 15 or 20 closing calls, and these are calls that were lost, and these are calls that also were won over. And I put that also within the memory base. And then I just, I took his whole course, downloaded it, took the whole transcripts of them, and just put them all within here. So anything that's in brackets that says course, those are transcripts of all of his course, because that gives the memory a lot more context as to what Aurelio does, what his beliefs are, what are some of the lessons, and it just gives it really good context. Then what I also have is just overall like YouTube script structure playbook that just goes over like how I structure my script. So in details, because the way that I structure scripts is, and I'll show you later, is there's a setup, there's tension, and then there's payoffs. That way there's like a smooth flow. So I have to put that in a document, and this is what the document's for. So it gives it a lot more context. And then Aurelio script writing training. So it just basically goes over anything related to Aurelio and some of the phrases that he uses, some of the words that we tend to take out. And yeah, then we also have a style guide that goes over like how I structure the scripts, what kind of language I use as well. Then I have market research. This just goes over the customer avatar. And then I also have prompts, anti-slop prompts. So as you know, AI has a lot of slop within its text. It's going to use phrases that are commonly used throughout every single AI that you can think of. And this document is meant to eliminate those commonly used AI phrases. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take that transcript that I downloaded earlier and put it into Claude and just have it analyze it. And then we're going to give it instructions. So I'm going to be creating a YouTube video titled, "If I started Airbnb from scratch in 2026, this is what I would do." And what I want you to do is take a look at this transcript that is designed for anyone that's trying to look at their, looking to grow their YouTube channel, and give me a breakdown as to how this video is structured, from the hook to the tension section, which is overall like what he talks about from like the step-by-step format, and then just give me a breakdown within very simple 8th grade language that goes over how we would just ultimately structure this for an Airbnb niche. All right, now what I want you to do here is give me a rough draft as to how you would structure this video for the Airbnb niche. And what I want you to do is go over all of Aurelio's courses, all of his videos, and what I want you to do is create me a rough draft that is structured with a hook up top and then the different steps in between. So like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, however many steps that we need. And also add in a conclusion. But this just needs to be a rough draft. So you don't have to go super in depth with the bullet points or a word for word. I just want you to give me like a general overview as to what each step would look like. That way I have a lot more context when it comes to writing the script. And just remember, keep it very simple, 8th grade language, nothing complex. Per bullet point, just make it about 1 sentence each. Okay, now let's delete that. Cool. Let's see what it says. Okay, so these are just some of the results it gave me. And what I don't like about this so far is that the steps are very general. This is just more so kind of like a mindset thing. And so one thing you'll notice about AI is that they're going to try to make everything mindset related. But this is more so of a strategy thing. So what I'm going to tell it to do is turn this more into like a strategy type of video instead of just a mindset video, because otherwise it's going to be boring for people to watch. My issue with the script right now is that this is more so of a mindset related script. The way I would structure it is more so like, let's say for like tip number 1, having something about, let's say filing an LLC first, like what that would look like, getting your EIN number, basically the basics of just opening up a business, a bank account. That's what I would do for like step number 1. For like step number 2, what I would do more so is having a section that just like kind of goes over like what the market looks like, what the property type should look like, what kind of software that you should use, and then kind of like in the surrounding area, what kind of Airbnbs should you look for, like what neighborhood should it be in, those kind of steps. For like tip number 3, I would more so mention understanding that Airbnb, it's actually best to go for regulated areas, and then just kind of go over like why it's important to go in those regulated areas. The next step for like step number 4, what I would go more so in depth on is, let me think about this real quick. Oh, let's talk about how it's important for you not to be pulling from your own savings, and instead you should be using a 0% interest card, other people's money, because when you're starting out in Airbnb, you shouldn't be using your own savings. There's better ways of doing it, and 0% interest cards, business cards, are usually the best way of doing it. For tip number 5, what I would say is, let me think. What would be another good step? Going over the whole process of how to pitch a landlord. This is a common area that a lot of people within the Airbnb industry have a fear of, because sales is not the easiest thing and negotiation is not the easiest thing. The next step that I would go over is going over the pricing. So what the monthly costs look like, going over some of the calculations as to like how to set up pricing, and just go over a little bit more depth on that for tip number 6. Tip number 7, what I would say is the scaling process. So how you go from one Airbnb property to a second one and a third one and a fourth one, the whole scaling process, because obviously you don't want to get one Airbnb unit, because you're just going to be having a situation where you have a chair with one stool or one leg. You want to have multiple legs in place. Tip number 8, what I would say would be the best to cover is the day-to-day operations, what that looks like, how to automate the day-to-day operations, because if you don't automate the day-to-day operations, it's going to be very hard to run the Airbnb business for a long time, especially for people that have full-time jobs. And that's what I would do. I would make this like 8 tips. So just kind of go over those tips in detail. And the reason why I was able to just go over this so smoothly is because I've just been working on so many of these YouTube videos that now, like, to me, Airbnb is like starting to become easy. And this is one thing that, I mean, this is a benefit of being a YouTube scriptwriter. You actually get to learn the business a lot. So I already knew like what do these tips look like, what's like the common advice that my client would usually say, and that's why it was easy for me to just kind of go over it. But this just what they provided above here, I could have prompted it through AI a little bit more, but since I have the outside knowledge as to how the business works, it just makes it a lot easier. So I'm gonna put this through Claude and have it rewrite all the steps to match what we're ultimately writing for this. Yep, so step number 1, set up your business up the right way. Step number 2, know what you're looking for before you look. Step number 3, stick to regulated markets. Yep. 4, don't fund it with your own savings. Yep. Learn how to pitch landlords. Good. Step number 6, pitch it so it actually books. Yep. Don't stop at one property. Automate the day-to-day. So we're essentially kind of creating a mini course in this. So for anyone that's they're trying to get started in Airbnb, this would give them a lot of good context as to like how to set this up. Conclusion. Okay. So the way that I structure my scripts is through a 3-part system. The first part is obviously you have the intro to the section. So the way that I call it is called a setup. So it's just an intro to the step number 1 that we're ultimately going to be doing. And we're only talking about the body. I'm going to work on the hook as like one of the last things, and then the conclusion as one of the last things. We're only going to focus on the body right now because our ideas are flowing. We have a ton of ideas. I'd rather get that on a sheet of paper right now. So you have the setup, which is the intro to the step. Then you have the tension, which is basically just bullet points that the client would read over, and it would give them an idea as to what to talk about. And then you have the payoff, which is basically tying up the whole point, and the payoff just creates a very smooth transition from one step to the other step. Sometimes I've noticed that it's best to take out the what is it called? Payoff completely, because sometimes the client will naturally say the payoff. So I'll leave it up to the client if they want to say it, if they don't want to say it, but it does create a lot more structure. So I'm going to add this into the chat. All right, so this is amazing. What I want you to do now is to take only the 8 steps and structure it in a setup, tension, and payoff format. What I want you to do is to go into the Claude memory base with all the files and pull up the way that we structure YouTube videos and the way that we kind of style it. And now I want you to create a word for word setup that is, I'd say, about 2 sentences. Don't make it too long. Make it easy to understand, 8th grade language. Then for the tension, you have the bullet points. And then for the payoff, we're going to have that, I'd say about 2 to 3 sentences as well, ideally 2. And same thing, 8th grade language, easy to understand. Like I said, I don't need the hook, and I also don't need the conclusion at all in this. I just need only the steps. AI voice just makes everything so much easier. If I were to write this out myself, this would take forever. Sometimes I do it if I'm in a quiet location, but it's just better to do voice note. So let's just read this through and make sure that everything's good. So what I do with my scripts is I try to make it as easy as possible to read for my client. A lot of people are going to try and overcomplicate the script by adding in open loops, trying to make things fancy, adding in a lot of text, making it word for word. I don't do any of that stuff. The way that I work with my clients is I give them the script, I jump on a FaceTime call with them, and I explain how it works. For some people, they don't want to jump on FaceTime calls. I completely get that. But I like to be there in person on the shoot with my client because I can't be there in person. But on the phone, I can be there with them. So I just try to make the script as easy to read as possible. And you'll see that with the formatting. I even try to make the formatting very simple, and I take out any sort of AI slop jargon language. Okay. All right. So I gave the whole script to myself, but ideally what I would do is I would structure this section by section. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to go through every single step. And it is somewhat time consuming, but it does create the best results. So I'm going to tell it. All right, good. Now just give me step 1 and we're going to break down what needs to be changed. Because when you're able to just piece together the video, you're going to create a very clear idea as to what needs to be changed. If you end up having all the steps in one, you just tell the chat at once what needs to be changed, it's going to get confused and it's going to give you a pretty shitty result. Most people jump straight into looking for a property before they even have real business. That one shortcut can cost you legal protection and money you either need or lose. It's not bad. So what I'll do here is I'm going to go into my document and just manually rewrite it. So step 1, just let's just say this first thing. Okay, we don't need that. That's just AI jargon. First thing I would do is get the business set up. Most people jump straight into looking for a property before they even have So with this, I'm trying to make the tension bullet points more action oriented. So if a client were to read this, you always have to think from a client's perspective how easy it is to read. This would be hard for them to understand. Like they would look at it, and some of them will understand it, but I'd say some of them might get confused. So I try to tell them exactly what needs to be done. So like first get an LLC, get an EIN number. This helps you get a business card later. I just try to make it a lot easier to understand. Okay, so okay, good. But the only issue is that we're still working on step 1. I don't want you to go into the next steps. I only want you to focus on step 1. To go back to step 1, I want you to remember that we need a little bit more bullet points than 4. So give me at least 3 more for this, and just kind of go a little bit more depth on each bullet point. That way it's easy for the client to understand, but only limit it to 1 sentence each. Okay, so this is good. The only issue is that the payoff is just worded a little bit weird. So the way that I would structure it is something along the lines of like, do this in order and it takes about a week. And every dollar the business touches is legally separated from your personal life before you sign a lease or something like that. That way it basically tells the viewer that just do this in order and this takes about a week. That's the main thing. Just do this in order and this takes about a week. Just keep it as simple as possible. Okay, that's pretty much set up. So now what I'll do is I'll copy and paste this into the script. Okay, I don't like this. This is actually a bad tip. Real estate. Let's just take this bullet point out completely. Actually, let's just make it short. Do this in order. Okay, keep it simple. All right, let's go on to the next step. And what I want you to do is keep in mind for this next tip to structure it in a very similar way to how I structured this other tip, in terms of like how the setup is set up, how the tension is set up, and how the payoff is set up. That way, it's a very simple format. So only give me step 2 now. For the setup, I would structure it in more so of a way that says the second thing on this list is picking a market and property type. And I'd let the data make the call instead of a gut feeling. Something along those lines. Obviously, just change it up if needed so that it flows a little bit smoother. It's good. These bullet points are actually pretty solid. Just paste it in. Step number 2. All right, step number 2, knowing exactly what you're looking for. We don't need this. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, instead of making a payoff, like just kind of summarizing the point, we're going to put in a lead magnet here that gets people to click on a link and put in their first name, last name, email address, phone number. And the way that we're gonna be doing it is through a free calculator. Anytime you give good like free information or a tool that helps them make a decision better, it just gives a natural ability for someone to click a link in the bio and have a lead for the client sales team. So the way I'm going to structure it is that's how I would structure it. So the way I structure it is very simple, very fast. What I would recommend people do is calculate their numbers first. There's a free calculator in the description you can use on your own to calculate the revenue and profit you can make per room. Very simple, straightforward. So just highlight this just to make it organized for the client. Set up. Yep. Step 3, okay. I copy this. I'm also going to tell Claude, this is how I structured this step, giving this to you. That way you have more context as to how I structure. Step number 3. So I'm just changing up like the intro of each line to just overall fit a structure, because you don't want to just say the second thing, the second thing, the second thing each time. Sometimes it's acceptable for some formats, but for this I try to change it up. Yep, that's good. Check the city's short-term rental laws before you search for a property. Avoid markets with no regulation at all. Yep. Okay, so one thing about AI that's going to continuously do is just do this in order. Just do this in order. Like, you gotta eliminate the repeats, because then it just doesn't sound natural, and also the client's gonna think like, what the fuck? Why is this each section the same? With this step, you're going to build on solid ground instead of a market that could pull. A regulated market means you know exactly what you're allowed to do from day one. Yeah, that's good. Trying to make it as human as possible. Just copy this, go back to Claude. One thing you'll notice is that in the payoff, I took out the whole saying of just do this in order, because I don't want each payoff to sound the same. Because if it sounds the same, then the script is going to sound very redundant. And you'll notice that when you give it good feedback, it usually gives you a better response. The only issue is now they said this step is what I said this step last time, so I'm gonna have to change that. How's that landing? Typical AI slop language. Okay, so step 4. I want to change this to like number 3. 3. So that way we kind of mix it up. And then 5th thing. Yep, that's good. Just say this is what keeps your own money out of the business while it gets off the ground. Your savings stay exactly where they are. I don't like that. It sounds like AI slop. I'll just say your savings This is what helps keep your savings out of the business while you get your first Airbnb property off the ground. Yeah, just make sure to always reread it out loud to yourself to just make sure everything is like set up properly. Let's move on to step 5. 5, okay. So next one. This is how I structured step 4. One thing I'm noticing you're consistently doing is you're making the setup and the payoffs first few words exactly the same, like the last step that we did. Make sure that we're using different phrasing. Like for example, like in the setup, I ended up using the word fourth because before we never used the word fourth. So make sure the wording is different. That way it doesn't sound repetitive. I shouldn't be repeating this to you multiple times. I want you to take a look at this tension a little bit more further. This doesn't seem like advice that Aurelio and his team would give. Go over the module about pitching landlords and rewrite these bullet points. I also don't like how you ended up writing this setup. It just sounds like AI slop language by saying this next one is where most people freeze up. Like, that's not something that someone would say in a natural sentence. Like, take that stuff out. Okay. Yep, that's better. I'm gonna have to fix the language in these setups and payoffs though. Just keep it simple. There's no reason of overcomplicating this. This sounds like typical AI jargon language. Landlords aren't turning down free rent. They're turning down a pitch that sounds risky. I fucking hate that wording. Well, we got to change that up. So I'm going to think of like what we can do exactly for that. Just say this, remember, it takes repetition to nail down the pitch, but once you get more confident, I'll just kind of run this through AI. I accidentally removed it. Let's see. That's good. Okay, next step. 6. The setup needs work. I'm gonna fix that. Good. Okay, next one. We're almost done with this. And then once we're done, we'll go over the thumbnails next. The way I would want to reword this is something along the lines of like seventh. Once you've got the first property running, it's how you approach growing the second one that will matter next, or something like along those lines. And then for the payoff, it's pretty much perfect. The only thing I'll say is phrase it like scale the right way, and each new property will help you add income without having to add in unnecessary hours to your week. Okay, last one for step 8. Step 8. Okay, so that's basically how you write every single step. Sorry if I was quiet on these. It's honestly very tedious just going through every single one of them, but just to kind of sum up like how I structure these with the setup, try to make it like 1 or 2 sentences. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't use AI language. Make sure that it sounds natural. Like read it out loud, read it in your head, and make sure that it sounds good. Because when you're going to give this over to the client, they need to be able to read it and understand exactly what they're saying. Because if the client catches you and it sounds bad, it just kind of looks bad on your end because you ended up writing this in a way where it sounds like AI slop. And also, one thing I recommend, like this is maybe a stylistic preference for myself. I'm sure other people have their own styles, but the way I do scripts is like I do everything through tabs. That way you can kind of just click through everything and just keeps everything organized. And I just like to highlight the top of it just to kind of add some color to it. And yeah, it's just a very simple format. And sometimes what I like to do is, and actually I'm going to do this real quick, is I like separating each sentence. So this is how I do it, just to make it more organized. Do this, make it, because you have to understand a lot of clients are going to be using teleprompters. So I would recommend structuring it like this for them to read. That's all set up. All right, now we're going to be working on the hook. And the way that I'm going to structure it, remember that video that we watched earlier? We're basically going to take it, write it out word for word in our own style for Airbnb. Where's the video?
When I first started making videos on YouTube, I made every mistake possible. I was posting random videos, I was constantly changing topics, and I thought that buying more expensive gear would magically make my videos succeed.
Okay, so let's just make this easy for ourselves. Go to more. Go to the transcript, below, show transcript. Now we're going to copy and paste this. Copy, now go back into this. All right, perfect. So now what we're going to be doing is creating the call to action, and I'm going to give you an inspiration from a YouTube niche, and I want you to rewrite this in an Airbnb format based off of what we wrote here. There's going to be eight steps. If we need to use social proof, what I would say is, actually, definitely say this. Mention that Aurelio has made $150,000 a month with Airbnb with 55 properties. Below is the inspiration that I would like you to write this off of. Now it's going to reword it in our own language. One thing that's interesting about script writing is I used to hate English class back in high school, but honestly, writing scripts is like writing essays. But the only thing is that this actually helps people make money. Essays don't help make money. This is actually useful, and you get to create really cool content off of it. So I guess English class was somewhat useful. Okay, all right. When I first started Airbnb arbitrage, I made every mistake possible. I picked the wrong markets, I used my own savings, and I thought a nice listing would fix everything on its own. All that was wrong. Now, after building Arbitrage Empire to 150K a month, I'm going to take that out. Arbitrage Empire, we don't need that. After building my Airbnb business to $150,000 a month across 55 properties, I had to start over from zero. I would do these 8 things completely different. Okay. Just watch this one more time, just to make sure.
When I first started making videos on YouTube, I made every mistake possible. I was posting random videos, I was constantly changing topics, and I thought that buying more expensive gear would magically make my videos succeed, but all of that was incorrect. But now, after making over 100 videos for Think Media, if I had to start over from zero, I would do these 7 things completely differently. Now, the first thing
Cool, that's good. So we'll take this and we'll rewrite this a bit. Say Airbnb business. 55 properties. Hook, title. Gotta keep it neat. Okay. That's that. All right, now we're going to create a conclusion. And the way that we create conclusions is we get people to watch the next video. Because what that YouTube algorithm does is if you get people to watch the next video, what that indicates to YouTube is like people enjoy your content, and it's an indicator that more people within the demographic of the person that's watching the video should be pushed to watch more of that content. So yeah, always recommend people to the next video. In some scenarios, if it's like, let's say a testimonial video, you tell them to go to like a book a call page or an application page where you have like a VSL application. But in most scenarios, I would recommend just having them go to the next video. That's what we're going to be structuring out with the conclusion. Say CTA. Cool. Let me see which video we should recommend them to. All right, now I want you to create a conclusion for this video. The video that we're going to be using is about the 4-step system Aurelia uses to build a $30,000 a month Airbnb business. And then just kind of explain, I map out like the whole process of what it looks like, break down like the exact math, and then I show how profitable Airbnb can be to anyone who's starting out. And I guess like in the beginning of like this call to action, just say something along the lines of like, if you want to see this in practice as like how I've done this in the past, watch this video next where I walk through blah, blah, blah. Yep. I don't like real math. I gotta take that out. I hate one that says real math. Very simple. People overcomplicate this. Just make it sound human and make it quick. And just have it just transition with like the step 8. So like it needs to transition between step 8 and the conclusion very naturally. So in that case, you would just, let's see. That's the process I would follow if I were starting from 0 today. If you want to see it in practice, watch this video next, where I walk through the exact system I used to build a $30,000 a month Airbnb business. I break down the math step by step and show you how anyone starting out can follow the same path. Easy, simple. And then what I like to do for all my clients is like, some of the clients will actually look at it. So I'll just put an inspiration video and I'll tell them to watch this. And it's also like good for my team to see like, okay, like how am I going to structure this video? Yeah, that's how I would do that. Inspiration. So I'll send this over to my team once I'm done with this. Okay. All right. So that's a script. That's basically how you write a script. Very easy. Just people overcomplicate this. It's nothing complex. I will say the way that I write scripts is assuming that I'm going to be jumping on a call with them and guiding them step by step. And these are calls that usually last between an hour and an hour and a half, where I actually go through like the whole video itself and I break it down. So it makes the client the client script writing process, filming process a lot easier for them because they know that I'm there by their side. But if you were to like, let's say just only hand them the script, what I would do in that scenario is probably add in comments here. So like add in like, let's say a bubble and just have bullet point notes. I would also record a Loom video explaining exactly how to shoot this video. That way the client has a lot more context. Just in case, like let's say they're on the shoot day and they don't know what to do, they can always either go to the comments or they can watch the Loom video and just kind of skip through and understand what exactly needs to be filmed. So now we're gonna be designing these thumbnails. All right, so we're gonna go on Photoshop and create this specific thumbnail. Out of all these thumbnails, I think this one's gonna probably perform the best because it had the highest outlier score, and I also think it probably looks the most natural and easiest to understand. So luckily for me, I already messaged my guy in terms of like the script. I sent him this thumbnail and he came up with a concept for me. And this is what I recommend most of you guys do if you have a team and you understand how to design thumbnails yourself. I'm gonna take this thumbnail and make it even better, because right now, like, the issue with this thumbnail is that he looks a little bit too blotchy here, a little bit too white, and I also want to change this YouTube logo over to an Airbnb logo. But overall, like, the thumbnail has like really good bones here. Like, the background looks really natural. There's a shadow here, even though I'd add maybe a little bit more shadow. But it's really solid. But now we just have to make it just look nicer, because this is just a rough draft. So this is where I would take his face here. That looks already natural. And actually, let's do this. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna save this to my computer. Let it load for a little bit. Now what we're gonna do is go into Chrome, and we're gonna use the app called Magnific. So what we'll do is we'll create an image. We'll go into Add. We'll take export this. So now we want to make this face look like this. Now we'll just say, take at image 1 and paste in at image 2 face. The whole goal with this image is to make the character within this image a lot easier to look at. And most importantly, make his skin tone a lot more clear. I also want you to make the skin tone almost exactly like image 2. This has to be 16 by 9. I messed that up. So we gotta regenerate it. As you can tell, it looks a little bit nicer now. Yeah, this looks way better. Obviously don't use that one. Okay, so we're gonna take any of these. I'd say probably this one's the best. Yeah, it looks really nice. Now we're going to just add in an Airbnb logo in here. And with Photoshop, you can just easily take out this. It's not even hard to take out. Oh, nice. Okay. So due to high demand, I guess Photoshop's fucking up today. Might not be able to change it on this platform. Let me try it one more time. Nope, that's good. Okay, now let's put the Airbnb logo. So the key thing with like this is to always show like your thumbnails in Airbnb style. Since we're working in the Airbnb niche, like showing the logo is really important, or the color scheme, which is like a red font. As long as like showing your clients like color scheme, like with my client Aurelio, he likes black, white, more tan colors. So we kind of mix in the more of like a dark theme with also the Airbnb logo. So that's how I would structure it. Maybe I can kind of slide this a little bit more forward. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and that's the thumbnail that I would use. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to upload this video into YouTube. I'll show you how the video is performing within like just a few hours, or like probably like 8 hours or 9 hours. And I'll show you what the progress looks like, and we'll just wrap this video up. But yeah, that's the whole process. How you, long story short, set it up is by making sure that you find the right idea, scripting out the video based off that idea, making sure that the script is structured in a way where it's very easy to understand for the client. The script is structured very simply, very organized, and then making 3 different thumbnails. So I didn't show you how to make the other 2 because it's going to take me too much time to work on. That's another video that I can probably make for you guys, but very simple process. Now it's just really a gambling process. Sometimes the video will perform, sometimes videos won't perform. That's why it's really important to usually post either once a week or more optimally twice a week. For this guy, we're doing this twice a week, so it's a higher likelihood that he's going to succeed within a quicker time span. But for anyone that's doing once a week, that also works. Just expect it's probably going to take 3 months. For 2 videos a week, it's probably going to take about a month, 2 months, sometimes even 3 months. It really depends on the person, but usually the results are faster because you just have a lot more data points to work with. Hey guys, so I just want to show you like the progress of this video so far. I just released it, let's see how many hours ago it was. I believe it's been like 8 hours since I posted this video. But so far, video's looking good. Obviously, it's not that many views right now because like this is just a really small channel and we're just trying to build it out from scratch. But 65 views, 5 hours of watch time. It has 16% view duration so far, so still too early to tell. Usually, like with these business niches, it doesn't get too much retention. But the goal is to get people to ultimately watch all the way to the end to either book a call, or in this situation, since we created like the lead magnet for the calendar, that's what we're trying to get people to apply for. So I already got one lead through the calculator despite only getting 65 views. But right now, it's early to tell. We have 729 impressions, 4.7% click-through rate. So click-through rate's actually not bad compared to the average. And then these are the 3 thumbnails that we ended up creating. So this is the one that we created together. This is the other one, Ali Abdal style. And then this is like the Think Media style, which says change your life. Obviously, out of the two, I'd say these are probably going to perform the best, but we'll see. That's really going to depend on the data. But yeah, that's what it looks like. I'll keep you guys up to date on either X or YouTube, like what the status looks like of this video. But sometimes these videos will take multiple months to take off. But the way that I structured it, and I'll just kind of show you real quick, like what the video looks like. It should perform relatively well within the near future. And all this is going to be dependent on, for future videos, me driving people over to this video or getting people to either click the end screen. That's what's going to help. And obviously just viewer retention. So I'll just kind of show you real quick what the video looks like, what the final looks like based off of what my editors created on this. And that'll give you like a good idea.
When I first started my Airbnb business, I made every mistake. When I first started my Airbnb business, I made every mistake possible. I went after the wrong market, I overspent furnishing my first unit, and I sat on my hands for months before I ever called a landlord. All of that was completely unnecessary. But after building this into a business that brings in $150,000 a month and helping over 400 clients build real portfolios on the side, I've realized it all comes down to a specific framework. If I had to start completely over from scratch today, there are 8 exact steps that I'll follow in order to help you get into the situation that you want to be in. The first thing that I would do differently is get the business itself set up before I ever look at a property. All right, so the first thing that you want to do is you want to file your LLC. I like using places like Zen Business or Northwestern, and I would budget about $100, $150, maybe $200 a year plus just for the state's filing fee every single year. It's really going to range, like I said, maybe $50 to $300. I know it's kind of a wide gap, but it really just...
So you can tell with like the intro, based off of like how we wrote it out, I try to show as much social proof, say that he's made $150,000 a month. I also try to really get my team to create like the style to be like more so of like a red Airbnb theme. Also use the dark colors because that's like what Aurelio, like my client, prefers to have. And then also making sure that like it just feels like an Airbnb video. You have to understand, like with these videos, you're trying to speak to the 30 to 50-year-old demographic that's trying to make passive income. So not making the music too intense, making sure that the graphics and visuals are very professional, but not trying to be, you know, overly flashy, showing, you know, too many watches, flex. Like we don't need all that stuff. We're trying to specifically target that audience. And that's how we ultimately structured it. And the rest of the video, it's more so like a bullet point style with like just slideshows, along with like a few other visuals as well. So we do some articles. I also made sure to timestamp all of them. That's really important because not everyone has the time to watch the full video. They'll ultimately skip over, and it's really important for your audience to sometimes set this up as long as it's like a longer video. In this case, it was a 26-minute video, so it made sense to do a longer style video with timestamps. So that's what I did. In terms of like a free calculator, I added a calculator here that drives over to a spreadsheet that gets people to like a free resource, and that just gives them a lot more value. And then I also added in a pinned comment. That way people go over to the calculator. I also did a community post for the YouTube channel, just to drive a little bit more traction. Sometimes we'll get a few clicks off of that, but it's always worth it to get a little bit more traction. So yeah, that's how I structured the video. If you guys have any questions as to how this works, DM me on Instagram. My handle is @TomGotVisions, and I'm happy to either help you out with like building out this whole YouTube system, or if you want to just do a consultation call with me and just that way I explain this whole thing out, then just hit me up there. Thanks, guys.